welcome everyone to this beautiful Bedford Forest Park today. Of course, we've been taking it for granted for years that we've been able to come down here, and it's the goal of Citizens to Save Our Parks to make sure that we're able to do this for many years to come. My name is Mark Buchanan. I'm the president of Citizens to Save Our Parks. For those of you who don't know who we are a nonprofit, apolitical, inclusive grassroots organization founded years ago to preserve history. Our intent is not to disparage or offend anyone, but to promote history in Memphis. I've been encouraged by fellow members of the group, friends, and legal counsel to make sure that when I speak of the parks and speak of Citizens to Save Our Parks, that the message should be it's about history. We are about history, plain and simple. I came to the honor of being the president of this group on a snowy day last Friday, right across the road over there in Scottish Rite. Local citizens were holding a prayer vigil. Lee Miller, spokesman for Citizens to Save Our Parks, asked if I would be present. I thought he was kidding at first because Lee, as you well know, has always been at the forefront of this sort of thing. But this was a prayer vigil, and knowing that God many times has a plan for us, I said yes. Now, if any of you have any idea that God does not have a sense of humor, let me dispel that right now. Because we have been on a roller coaster ride with the city council and the city ever since. It's been one of the most rewarding yet frustrating experiences of my life. If you would have told me this story, I would never believe it. For those of you who are from out of town and haven't seen the news, let me give you a little history. The city is attempting to change the names of these parks. We, I say we because many of you were there through all of this so far, have seen some of the most incredible, unbelievable things over the last several months. If I get a little carried away, I've been holding this in for about 5 months. We woke one morning and found where the city tore a monument that they approved and we donated out of the ground in the middle of the night and took it and hid it in a barn at the zoo. They didn't call a soul. They didn't call anybody who had donated. They didn't call the SCV. They didn't call the West Tennessee or Shelby County Historical Societies or Commission. Not anyone. Then they wanted to change the name of the park. Then they wanted to change the name of all the parks. And they wanted to do it right away. We went to meetings to present our facts with the leaders of the city in public, with the press there. And I will quote this: "We don't need a history lesson. We have the right to remove the Forrest statue. We can move and reinterm the bodies of Mr. Forrest and his wife at Elmore. And finally, we will deal with the cannons later too." That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about digging people up. We're talking about kicking over headstones. That's what we're talking about here. We heard you heard this, you were there. We heard the past president of the Asheville, North Carolina NAACP present information to the leaders of the park, the leaders of this city, why the park should not be altered. And some of those leaders shunned this man. They ignored him. They sent people out of the room as he spoke. I was never so embarrassed to be a Memphian in my life. We went to meetings and presented a mountain of evidence arguing that the concerned citizens of Memphis in no way wanted these parks changed and were summarily dismissed. We had a huge writing campaign. One city official stated that the ballot box was stuffed. Of course it was. Only the concerned people who care about this city and care about history wrote in. This is happening. This is history. We went to town meetings where policemen were everywhere, waiting in groups outside, lining the walls. I even had to surrender my driver's license at the front door and get a temporary badge. This never happened before. The citizens of Memphis, both black and white, in a ratio of 9-to-1, told them to leave the cities alone, leave these parks alone, take care of what needs to be taken care of in this city. provide for the safety and well-being of the citizens of this community, and leave these parks alone. We were still ignored. The city's actions actually resulted in a supremacist group coming to this town. The city closed downtown, parts of downtown, for 2 days. 2 days. And the city provided security and buses for these people to the tune of $170,000 of our tax money, because they want to change the name of this park and move that man. While we were in a meeting with the council, the city was outside removing the signs from 3 of the parks. I'm not making any of this up. You were there. You were there. You were there. It's unbelievable. It's like the Twilight Zone. You couldn't make this stuff up. Now I'm reminded of a story. I just finished a book about Chancellorsville on the second day. Lee's forces were pressing the Union lines to the south, and Stuart was coming from the west. At a small place called Catherine Furnace, a young fellow named Sid was helping an older gentleman named Abner prepare the roof to the furnace. Abner was in poor health. His arthritis was so bad that he had to be sometimes carried in a chair. As they were working on the foundry, a Confederate unit came by on the advance. Sid and Ab were not worried because they knew that a single Confederate could whip at least 5 Yankees. Shortly thereafter, the Confederates came back at the double quick. At the north at the end of the clearing, Sid said that the sky clouded up and rained Yankees. He jumped off the roof and took off after the Confederates. He came across a small creek at the bottom of a narrow ravine. They called him Runs in Virginia. The Confederates had rallied, reformed, were firing at the Yankees, who had stopped at the edge of the woods. He laid low in the creek bed to avoid the fire. At that time, a fellow came crashing through the woods, leaped the ravine, clearing both banks, the water and Sid as well, in one jump. He disappeared in the woods on the far side. Why? It was old Abner. It seems that he was cured of rheumatism and only what one could call a miracle. Now, I relate this story to make a point. Old Abner may or may not have had arthritis. He may or may not have needed to be carried in a chair. But one thing for certain, Abner knew when it was time to take action. And now is the time to take action. If you don't think you have a stake in this fight, you're mistaken. No matter who you are, if you had a relative, if you had kinfolk of any kind, a neighbor, a friend, or maybe even you, who served in the armed forces for this glorious United States of America, you fought for your country, you are involved in this. If you refuse to believe those in power can't come after your heritage, you are mistaken. History bears this out. Where is Jefferson Davis's home that resided here in this town at one time? Where is it now? It's parking lot. Where's Raphael Sims' home? It's gone. World War II. Where's the Memphis Belle now? It's gone. Where's the Memphis Belle? It's gone. What's going to happen to the Doughboy for the first World War I? What's going to happen to the Vietnam Memorial? Then Thomas and Watkins. Who's to say they won't come after those two? But what about those in your own hometown if you're not from Memphis? Folks are watching this from Sweden to Australia, from Oregon to Maine. What will we do? This case is historic. It is epic. It will set precedent for the rest of our lives, our children's lives, our children's lives. The memory and the honor of the American soldier is at stake here. We have got to protect that memory. The saddest irony of this whole shenanigans is that the city is using taxpayer dollars to fight us while we're trying to preserve the memory of the American soldier. They're using your money, my money, our money to fight against your history, my history, our history. And I have had it up to here. We're mad as hell about this, and we're going to do something about this. Paraphrase a Confederate soldier who said, we're going to fight them until hell freezes over, and then we're going to fight them on the ice. So what can you do? you can be like Abner and realize that now is the time for action. Get involved. Go to citizenstosaveourparks.org, follow the fight, write letters, email the council, call them, and please donate and donate again. I've had people just come up and donate. They didn't even want a t-shirt. So we will stand up and fight, and we will fight this in court, in the media, in City Hall, whatever it takes, wherever it takes, and all you have to do is back us up.